We are here for week number 23 here in the NOVAR Verizon Cup Series here at the Camden Motorsports Park in Camden, South Carolina. The last time the NOVAR Verizon Cup Series drivers hit the track, Cody White took the victory at Salt Lake City, stealing it with a fuel mileage gamble as his two race leaders, as Walt Ethan and Shane Harden, the two race leaders for Wyke, actually ran out of fuel. While in the closing stages of that race, Wyke was able to stretch the fuel enough to take the victory at Salt Lake City. The big story is heading into this weekend is that this is the final regular season race for the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge. The challenge basically being serving as drivers who serve part-time, tackle all of the variety of tracks that are here in South Carolina. Currently, Wayne Goslin currently leads the way in that standings, but we'll get the updated standings towards the end of this video as we get to it. Now we have a ton of silly season rumors that came in during the past several weeks. We'll finally have a chance to get to it. The first of which is that the NOVAR Verizon Cup Series schedule will now be shrunk down to 20 races for 2016. I believe it will be the second time in the last 3 years that it will be a 20-race calendar for the NOVAR Verizon Cup Series. The other one being the 2014 season. Other stories that we like to from out silly season rumor. Nick Dunnigan has been confirmed to replace Shane Truex in the 73. We don't know what Truex is going to do following this year. Southwest Airlines has announced it will become the new sponsor of the 26 for Todd Piper, replacing National Guard. The paint scheme will basically be what Tony Piper will be running at Columbia, which that will be in several weeks. Pringles will come on board the 13 of Jarrett Lancel as Lancel moves his team over to Hal Wilson Racing for the 2016 season. 3 distinctive flavors will be on the car, but it will be the original flavor, the sour cream and onion, and the cheddar cheese flavors. We don't know about any other flavors that will be coming aboard, but we do know those 3 will be the main sponsors for that 13 car. Walter Green Racing will now expand to 2 cars for 2016. They'll be bringing up Gatorade Series driver Alex Navarro and will run Rookie of the Year in the car number 40 Bojangles Chevrolet for Walter Green Racing. Navarro is now projected to be the favorite to win Rookie of the Year after Navarro has had a ton of success in the Gatorade Series. Ethan Zarin, who currently drives the 36, has announced he will return to the Gatorade Series, replacing Carmani Henderson after Henderson has struggled pretty much this year in car number 03 for the team. This, as a result, leaves the 06 of Chris Devon as the only team car for Gressler Motorsports. Kyle Exon has also vaulted back to the Gatorade Series. However, unlike the 36 his team will remain in the Cup Series, but they have not found a driver for that. Kagan Russo will bring up car number 74 Office Depot Dodge for Russo Autosports and will compete for Rookie of the Year next year. And finally, 2 teams will be closing at the end of 2006. That will be Mansell Autosports and Grossi Autosports. Mansell Autosports is currently owned by Moko Mansell. We don't know about his plans. But about Grossi Autosports, Shane Kinston will join Daniel Salomon in the NOVAR Gatorade Series. And now we'll take a look at the rest of our Week 23 winners. We'll start at Olton Park, where Olivier Olive took the victory in the European Tour race there. At Pablo Creek, Udonis Ilam took the victory at the Gillette Dirt Series event at Pablo Creek. Ashley Nargan dominated the Razor Aero Series race at Decatur. And at North Colorado, Jason Calasso was the sole survivor, and I mean, yes, a literal sole survivor at the NOVAR Gatorade Series race at North Colorado. The Camden Motorsports Park is located in Camden, South Carolina. It is a 3.4-mile road course. We'll be racing here for 60 laps. The last time the NOVAR Verizon Cup Series drivers ran here was last year, and Brandon Green took the victory in that race after Shane Nargan had miscues on the green flag pit stops. As for your Aflac Polaroid winner, Chadler Blake in car number 15 will lead the field down to the green flag in his Retro XI Batteries paint scheme. Todd Piper in car number 26 will start on his outside. Walt Ethan, who was the points leader going into this weekend, has failed to qualify for the race. Second time this season that Ethan has failed to qualify. Second time on a road course that will happen. Barring something that will happen to Shane Harden, who will start this race in 25th, he will take over as the points leader. As we're going to see Austin Warwick, who's going to try for his 4th straight top 10 finish. He'll start this race in 34th. And rounding out the field is Caroline Salvatore and Carson Porank. So Chadlow Blake in car number 15 is XI Batteries Retro Paint Scheme will lead the field down to the green flag. Looks like the 25 of Scott Howard does not get a good start. However, he has the preferred line, but as they head into turn number 2, Piper actually has that line. As when they go up the hill, Scott Howard and Todd Piper battling it out for second, but looks like coming down up the hill and then back down. Looks like Howard in the 25 will get second. James Jr. in 11 will settle in the 4th spot. Meanwhile, behind them, the battle for 5th between Jay Arnori, Casey Huto, Damon Scott, Chris Bell, among others. That is a mad scramble for the 5th spot, and a lot of cars scrambling through. It looks like Piper's going to try to get that 2nd spot back, but looks like the 25 of Scott Howard will hang on to the spot. However, the first lap did not have actually had carnage there as Jason Dugan, the 66, just runs in the back of Chris Devon. I believe might have been contact from the 46 of Moko Mansell. As we had still more trouble, Chris Bell, who was running up front, gets spun, and Shane Kinson, the 21, knocks him around. So Bell, who was running, gets hit by Eddie Johns, and I believe Keith Hales and Scott Johnson also got a piece of that. And that was not the only thing, as Bell was trying to get back going. He gets into Kyle Eichson, which then gets into Caroline Salvatore, Thomas Lawyers. Carson Brink, the 52, had to check up as well. As we see Todd Piper, the 26, Piper will take over the lead from Chandler Blake as Chandler Blake dives down to pit road. As pit strategy will be a major factor throughout the race, as cars will be pitting at various times, not like a traditional race where some cars, where pretty much the whole field pits within a 5-lap circuit. Later in the lap, Todd Piper would still lead the way, would get into the guardrail, as that guardrail, despite that last corner being a wide sweeping corner, drivers had a very difficult time holding the high line as they would slide up into the wall, as Damon Scott in car number 18 will take over the race lead. As a result of that, James Wilson Jr. in the 11 will also stay out, so as a result, that 11 car will take over that second spot. The 18 of Damon Scott is leading the way. Scott, who already has one road course victory this season, that came to Edmonton, which he completely led every lap in that race. The way it is not going to happen here. As we see the 21 of Shane Kinson in car number 21. Kinson, whose team just recently announced that team will close at the end of the season, so it's kind of unfortunate for them, but they haven't really been able to find sponsorship in the 21 car. Kinson, unlike his predecessor Jesse Donahue in the 21, Kinson's actually put that car on the grid a couple of times. However, the results haven't been really noteworthy. Right now, Kinson's having an excellent run here, running in the third spot. As you see, James Wilson Jr. car number 11, the second place driver, right there as well. As we see Kinson heading through the S's, probably the most difficult place of the track, as you have to turn it completely hard to the left and then completely hard to the right, which that seems to be a very tough place for him. You see the 21 Shane Kinson. Running in fourth is Shane Nargan, car number 32. Nargan, who dominated last year's event, but unfortunately kind of wrecked himself out because of that. As he gets to the SS, he spins again! So just like last year, however, this time it goes up lap 4 and Harden gets into the back of him. And I believe Harden actually was pushed into that wreck by Jamie Scotty in the 9, as Nargan already has rear end damage, so issues that happened in last year in the halfway point of the race, this year it only takes about 4 laps to have issues. And there we see the 59 of Shane Harden. Harden had heavy damage on the front of that 59 car, and he was not happy with the 9 of Jamie Scotty. As right there, I believe he just gave the bird up to the 9 car, as I believe Scotty actually just pushed him into the wall. I believe Scotty actually pushed him into the wreck, as there would be tempers flaring throughout the weekend. Harden, who's supposedly coming into this weekend as the points leader, as that's going to be a tough break here. We are focused on several other cars here. George Davis, car number 37, one of the last weekend that we went to a South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge event. George Davis in that 37 car has won the race. Austin Warwick in the 3, who's, I believe, Davis is passing. I believe this is all for, if I'm not mistaken, I believe for the 6th spot. Warwick in the 3 has been having a great run in the past several weeks that he's actually qualified for the races. He's actually being queued for both Sonoma and Denver, but whenever he has qualified in the past 4 races, ever since being told that he's going to be racing for his ride, he's basically put that car in the top 10. So Warwick in that 3 car is already getting a really good surge in the second half of the season. The 46 of Moko Mansell, like with the 21 of Shane Kinson, will not be returning to the season next year. However, unlike Kinson, which we know Kinson will be going to the Gatorade Series, we don't know what Mansell is planning to do in the future, but we'll hope for the best for Moko Mansell in the 46. Further right behind is Brandon Green and Shane Nargan. Nargan, who's, I believe, hasn't pitted because of that damage, and then Brandon Green, who won this race last year. Right now, Green is in contention as, near contact between the 32 of Shane Nargan and the 30 of Brandon Green. So Brandon Green still trying to get in his way back up front, as there you see the 46 gets into the guardrail. That's going to get Nargan by, and I believe Brandon Green in the 30 also got into the guardrail as well. As there you see the 46 and Nargan. Austin Warwick in the 3 looks like Warwick will be pitting this time by. As we see more cars up ahead, Kenton and Ethan is right now leading the race, but Ethan Linter, actually that's for the battle for the lead right there. Ethan Linter, the 51, who's missed the last 2 races despite having a very stellar rookie season. Linter, barring a complete collapse from that 51 team, will probably win Rookie of the Year honors, as he's competing right now. Gordon Billard, who last win came out on a road course, came out Sonoma surprisingly in that Crash Fest. And then we have 2 other tri-racing cars, that being the 33 of Cameron Brooks and the 31 of Ronald Portland. Brooks, who's just been not really having the greatest season so far, while Portland's kind of in the same boat as well. Evan Brooks and the 95 is also in there as well. Brooks, who Brooks has just had a brutal season in the 95, while Keith Hales in the 27 just had a much worse season, much worse than Todd Piper, surprisingly. as Hales, who finished third at Dennisville, but then just struggled pretty much just struggle everywhere else. He's only finished, I believe, in the top 20, I believe, twice this year, so it's just been a brutal year for the 27. Meanwhile, Gordon Billard and the 21 of Jesse Donahue and the 21 of Shane Kitson almost made contact there, but no incident there. The car further behind this group is the 01 of Jay Ononori, which the team recently announced that TaxLayer.com will become the new sponsor. I believe the paint scheme was unveiled this weekend at a fan event at this track, which actually kind of seems like a very nice sponsorship scheme, but as Ononori will dive down to the pit road in car number 01 he's racing Ononori, still having a good season, I believe, for that 01 car, but not really the greatest compared to his teammate. Scott Johnson, car number 58, everybody's biggest favorite going into the weekend. Johnson, who is potentially the favorite to win this race, is doing a solid job running in 14. Johnson, who I believe started in the middle of the pack, has not really gained any ground, and I believe he was involved in an early accident, and I believe the damage might have something to do with that. Mark Mongillo in the 20 is also up ahead. Mongillo's just not had the year he's wanted in that 20 car, although he's put that car in the top 10 a few times this year. But to be honest, that 20 car has just really been nowhere throughout the year. As we see green flag stops, I believe the second place car, Cameron Brooks in the 33 pit. Ronald Portland will actually take the lead as Brooks actually slid into the guardrail as a result. Portland, who is looking for his first win in about 6 years. His last win coming at 2009 at Peoria. As Portland in the 31, just already building up a sizable gap over the rest of the 33 Cameron Brooks. Portland, who's not really had the luck since joining this team at the end of the 2010 season, as he throws it a little bit wide there. There we see Chadler Blake, Kyle Eichson, and Shane Bliss. All of them are running, I believe. Eichson's running in 39th, while Blake and Bliss are running 30th and 31st, respectively. As Portland in the 31 will sweep it around the corner here, and then we'll get into the concrete section where we've seen some cars actually slide off there. Here is Scott Johnson, car number 25. As Johnson, who is running fourth at this point, Johnson would throw it off the course as we get stuck in the dirt. As Howard in the 25 will get it back going. The 25 will actually get this thing back going as he merges back up safely, no harm there. Harden in the 59, who is running, I believe, just barely outside the top 20. Harden will get there, and then Howard will just turn the 59 around, so that's two incidents there within a lap. And things would just get even worse for Howard, as Howard, who gets into the guardrail, as he gets out there, something rips into the engine and blows it up. So Scott Howard in the 25, who had a potential of having a good race here, is just not going to work out for that 25 car. As meanwhile, back up front, Eddie Johns actually just left the pits, I believe, in the second spot. Actually, Ronald Portland just left the pits around the same time Eddie Johns got out. So we now have a good battle for the race lead, Ronald Portland and Eddie Johns. Johns, who's just had a rebound year for that 55 car after having a kind of a tough year for that 55, despite Johns winning at Talladega. As Portland in 31 is just, as I mentioned, he's just not really had the luck he's had all year. As JC gets into the dirt a little bit, Johnson in 55 trying to get his second victory of the season. His first coming way early in the year at Atlantic City. As Johnson in the 55 is going to try to go a little bit deeper, but looks like Portland's going to beat him out, the 55 of Johns, out of that corner. As it looks like as they head down the hill, the 55 of Eddie John will try to get a run off the corner. John slides a little bit wide, nearly makes contact with the wall. As the 55 of Johns, who's currently having a rebound year in that 55 car, running in the third spot is the 50 of Blake Battagliana. Battagliana already has a road course victory. That dates back way to 2014. As Battagliana in the 50 is just not really had the year he's wanted. I believe he sits just barely outside the top 20. Quite year for the 50 team. By the way, Carter Pavis, car number 4, is up ahead of him. Pavis, who I believe is Blake Battagliana, gets in the wall. Pavis, who scored a career best third at Salt Lake City last week. As Pavis right now, he's running, I believe, 25th, if I'm not mistaken. Blake Battagliana into the 50 will actually stay out on the track and will continue on to complete, I believe, lap number 18, if I'm not mistaken. As we see the 30 of Chandler Blake, actually the 15 of Chandler Blake, who's running in the 30th spot, my fault there. As Kyle Eichson right now in the back, he's running 38th. He's running about 5 laps down. I believe he was involved in a pit road accident. The car stalled out because of that. Blake in the 15, who won his first pole in quite some time. He actually did win the pole at Blue Ridge last year, but that was based on the owner's points. As Looks like the 15 of Blake's, who pitted early on his lap. I believe the first lap pit strategy just didn't work at all for that 15 car, as sitting in 30th. Ike J. Jr. car number 09 running in the 6th spot. Ike J. Jr., who's just failed to qualify for a lot of races. I believe when he started stumbling, he was, I believe, 12th in the. I believe he was second in the point standings when he started tumbling down the points because of his DNQs. I believe Ikeson just wasn't a good wasn't a good qualifier, and I believe this year's really shown why. As Ikeson, whenever he does put the car in the race, he actually puts it in quite well. Here's Shane Nargan, number 32, back as we mentioned. Nargan still running from that damage. He slides it off into the sand, as I believe many cars have actually done that before. Nargan will try to get back. He actually does get out of the sand. He tries to drive away, but drives it into the concrete. As Nargan would go out of the race, this was roughly about halfway through the race. As there you see Casey Hutto tries to get out. He gets into by Kyle Exton. So shades of last year with Shane Nargan and Ethan Littinger. This time Casey Hutto and Kyle Exton just run into each other at the pit road. As Ikeson would keep on going. Ikeson would actually keep it going, take it back to the pit, but would drop out of the race. Casey Hutto and the 19 would continue on going. Here's from what happened. Looks like the 19 just pulled down, and the 05 would run into the 19 of Kyle Ikeson. And the 19 of Casey Hutto. Carter Patterson 4 is out there. We'll try to keep it going. As we get to the closing stages of this race, Keith Hales in the 27, Scott Johnson in the 58. This would all be a battle for 4th spot. It will actually be one of the better battles throughout the race. As the 27 of Keith Hales, here you see Chris Devon in the 06. He's just had a really bad run. He actually was involved in a pit road accident on the first lap, and he kind of stalled it out because of that. As you see the 58 of Scott Johnson. Johnson's going to try to take advantage of that, and there we see race leader Ronald Portland. He's actually in the background as these cars are about to be lapped down. So not only they're trying to race for a spot, they're also trying to outrun that 31 car of Ronald Portland. Johnson, Hales, and Devon are going to make it 3 wide. Johnson looks like Hales in the 27 is going to hold to the middle line. Johnson almost completely threw it off the course there. As we see near contact, and Hales is thrown into the dirt by Chris Devon there. As that's going to have Scott Johnson try to take advantage. Hales has the line as they head up the hill. As we see Devon gets to the wall. There's Scott Johnson's around. So it looks like this will basically hand Keith Hales the 27 that 4th spot right now. Now Hales in the 27 will be just running with that 06 car of Chris Devon. But meanwhile, throughout the entire race, leading about roughly 95% of this race, Ronald Portland in 31, looking for his first win in roughly about 6 years. His last win came in 2009 at Peoria. Try racing if they can hang on. It'd be his second victory at a track. George Davis in the 37 will actually got the victory in that track, and actually be the second time that Tri Racing has had a driver break a long winless drought on their team. George Davis actually had, I believe, an 8-year winless drought, while Ronald Portland will have at least a 6-year winless drought that he'll break, barring that something catastrophic happens. Austin Ward right now in the 3 is running in the 2nd spot. He's running about 25 seconds back of the leader. As Portland, if he could just hang it around here, the 31 he has to get through that 21 car. Shane Kinston, who's just had a great run. I believe he'll finish inside the top 20 as we see several cars through that long straight. The 31 of Ronald Portland, he gets through the S is probably the most difficult part of the track. He gets through that without too many problems. Goes up the hill, gets to the top of the hill, now down the hill to that wide sweeping left-hander. He has to be careful with that 21 car of Shane Kinston, as the 31 of Ronald Portland the Portland in the 31 will just have to try to be careful. Kinston puts him into that asphalt area a little bit, as that was previously dirt, but I believe in the 2014 season they paved that, so it wouldn't be a dust trap flying through. Now down the final long right-hander here, Portland's going to get into the guardrail. Just looks like Kinston will beat the 31 back to the line when it comes to finishing on the lead lap. And heading down the final straightaway, Ronald Portland, car number 31, his last victory came with the Coldware Racing Team in 2009, and now 6 years later, Ronald Portland in car number 31 will score his first victory with Tri Racing, and I believe his 7th career NOVAR Verizon Cup Series victory. So Ronald Portland scores his first victory in over 6 years with a victory here at Camden. He also led a race-high 55 of 60 laps, and I believe that's the tracker record for most laps led in a single race here at Camden. Austin Warwick continues his top 10 streak, his 4th straight, dating back to, I believe, the New York Auto Ring race, as he DNQ'd for both Sonoma, and Denver, so it's not a continuous streak, but it is 4 races that he's qualified. He has 4 straight top 10 finishes. Ward finished 28 seconds back of Portland. Eddie Johns, car number 55, he finishes 50 seconds back of the leader. He finishes his race in third, so good finish for that 55 Eddie Johns. Cameron Brooks, a good finish for that 33 team. Brooks, who's just not had the year, finishes in the 4th spot. He finished about a minute 14 back of the leader. Scott Johnson actually did get by Keith Hales, I believe that, but that came on like pit stops. His Hale pitted a little bit later in the lap, while Scott Johnson, I believe, didn't really pit despite getting involved in a late accident. So Johnson will finish 5th, a minute 35 back, and then Keith Hales in car number 27. He's the last car to finish on the lead lap. He finished a minute 51 back of the leader. Ethan Littinger, a good rebound for him after DNQing the last 2 weeks. He finishes his race in 7th. Very quiet run for car number 23 of Corey Von Delga, who finishes his race in 8th. He finishes 1 lap down after starting this race in 22nd. Blake Tagliana, another quiet finish for that 50 car of Tagliana. I believe this year's been a rough year for that 50 team, but right now he finishes his race in 9th. And Carson Spring, starting dead last, he climbs all the way back up to 10th and finishes under 1 lap down. And now let's take a look at the point standings. Despite finishing pretty badly here, I believe finishing just barely inside the top 20, Shane Harden in the car number 59 takes over the points lead after Wealthy Houston does not qualify for the race. He has a 12-point gap, which actually we're just getting word now, which is currently unofficial now, as Harden was involved in 2 confrontations, I believe, and the post-race, the first with Scott Howard and the other with Jamie Scott. I believe Harden was actually triggered both of them, but we'll have to see what the penalties are there, as these standings are currently unofficial, but we'll get the official word on that when we get it. Walter Ethan, as mentioned, is second in points. He drops just only to 12 points back, as it mentioned, unofficial. Scott Johnson, he does gain some ground, but not enough to where he wanted. He was about 70 points back. He cuts it to about 44. So Johnson got some ground, but not really enough to put him back in consideration. Eddie Johns, with his top 10 finish, actually with his top 3 finish, climbs up to 4th in the points. He gains 2 spots in the 4th spot. So as a result, Monster Energy Racing, they have 3 cars in the top 4. The only exception being Walter Ethan, of course, in car number 8. Ethan Littinger in car number 51. After his rebound finish, he climbs 2 spots back up to 5th. Casey Lester, who I believe DNQ'd for this race, drops 2 spots to 6th in the standings. The 15 of Chadley Blake gains a spot to 7th in the point standings. Mike Hogan, who I believe DNQ'd for a 3rd straight race, drops 3 spots to 8th, so I believe his championship hopes are done because of that. Shane Narden, car number 32, who just had a rough weekend, remains in the 9th spot in the point standings, and then he has another 41 points back to CJ Gordon, car number 48, who is 10th in points. He is 168 points back. And now we take a look at 11 through 20. Jason Duke, car number 66, gains 3 spots to 11th, despite finishing in the 26th position. Jake Carroll, car number 76, Duke's teammate, drops a spot to 12th. He is 179 points back. Cody White, car number 22, also drops a spot to 13th of the point standings. He is 181 points back. Chris Clark gains 2 spots to 14th of the point standings. He is 190 points back. Jason Calasso drops 2 spots to 15th in the point standings. He is 192 points back. Justin Kingston in car number 24 loses a spot to 16th of the point standings. He is 196 points back. Ike Days Jr. gains 6 spots to 17th in the point standings. He is 211 points back. Alan Kimmel, car number 88, I believe drops a spot to 18th in the point standings. Ronald Portman was our big winner of the top 20. He gains 12 spots to 19th, so he went from 31st to 19th, all because of that victory. And Damon Scott, car number 18, rounds out the top 20. He drops 2 spots to 20th. He is 215 points back of the points leader. Traditionally, we head straight to our post-race coverage with our race recap. However, since it is the final regular season race for the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge, we'll take a look at the standings, as right now we have 12 drivers scoring points, but we'll only have the top 10. Wayne Gosling currently leads the way with 36 points, with Edwin Miller and Blake Curtis tied for second with 24 points. The only driver that theoretically can dethrone Wayne Gosling from winning the South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge is Blake Curtis. Curtis, if he wins the challenge, he would have 3 wins to Wayne Gosling's 1, which he got this week at Camden. Edward Miller is also tied up, but theoretically, if he ties up Wayne Gosling, he would lose it by second-place tiebreakers, where Wayne Gosling has 2, while Edward Miller just has 1. Keith Jesse in car number 80, he is 4th in the point standings. He has 18 points. Corey Lawyers, car number 49, he is 5th in the point standings, 16. He's another 2 back from Evan Smithson, who has 14 points. 7th is Mike Harper in car number 61. He has 10 points. Then we have a tie for 8th between Makoto Mika and Shinichiro Hanto. Both of them actually did receive 8 points. And, well, Mika got it this week, while Shinichiro Hanto got it at Dentsville, as those tied up for 8th. And running at the top 10 is Greg Clarence in car number 18. He has 6 points. The only other drivers that did score points, we'll get to our rest number 5, which we're not going to show via the standings. The only other drivers that got points were 2, which were Mike Wilson and John Casimir. They have 2 points apiece. Wilson got it this week, while Casimir got it in Dentsville, very similar to how the Mika Hansa situation went out. And the 3 drivers that have yet to score points in the challenge are Marcus Ted-Bofschier, who sits 13th, Sebastian Gonzalez in the 92, who sits 14th, and Cody Preston in car number 02, who sits in 15th. Now let's take a look at our race recap. Since it's a road course race, no yellows were thrown. Austin Ward and Carson Briggs each gained 32 spots, with Ward finishing in 2nd and Plank finishing in 10th. Ronald Portland led 55 laps en route to his victory, and there were 4 leaders for 3 lead changes. The margin of victory was 25 seconds. The next time the NOVAR Verizon Cup Series drivers will at the track will be at the Homestead Miami Speedway in Miami, Florida for the NOVAR Verizon Cup Series for race number 19. The Gatorade Series will then travel to North Colorado. The GameStop Truck Series will be racing at Burlington. The Razor Aero Series will be racing at Homestead Miami. The Freightliner All-Americans will also be at Burlington. And the DHL European Tour will be racing at the Croft Raceway. We'd like to congratulate Ronald Portland on snapping a 6-year winless drought. And we will see you next week at the Homestead Miami Speedway.